Good morning. I just had to eliminate one of these platforms that I was on, so that's why I'm a little late trying to get to you all here this morning. Just want to share some brief comments with you this morning. It's really um, strange how many people have such a unique background as it relates to their life, and they never get a chance to share it with anyone. And most times, people that you come in contact with pretty much every day know nothing about you. And you're a very, very interesting person. If you go back and look at your own life, examine your own life, how you came up, what type of family you came out of, and the experiences that you had to go through to get to where you are, you could probably write a book. And even though some of you haven't as of yet, it certainly should be in the bucket list for many of you because you really have something to say to people. First of all, let me thank you all for tuning in this morning. And we're hoping and praying that the blessings of infinite intelligence are on you this morning, touching you this morning. You're in a good state this morning, and your health as well. Let me just give you some type of background on me. I came out of a very, very simple home. I guess you would call it a simple home. Three brothers, three sisters. There was seven of us in the house. My mother was the head of the household. She knew nothing about health and nutrition. Neither did my brothers or my sisters. And my father, whom I knew from a distance, didn't know anything about health and nutrition. And we pretty much ate what was on the table, that was put on the table, that we told was fit for consumption. That's pretty much how I came up. And it wasn't until I got probably in my teens that I started to recognize and realize that I was lacking energy and vitality. What I mean? Well, I was watching people run marathons and doing high jumps and all these type of things that you see people doing the Olympics, and I was saying, where are they getting all that energy from? And then I would look at fucking Wagnos and see that dictionary, and I'm trying to say, where did all of this mental energy come from that a person had in order to create, a publication like that? So these were things that caused me to wonder early in life. I was born into a Christian family, Christian community for that, I guess, part of my life, the early part of my life. I was in the church. My grandmother was a very, very spiritual woman. And she went to church Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. She went to church every time the door opened, she went to church. And my older brother and my older sister, we stayed with her for some time. And while we stayed with her, while we lived with her, we had to go to church. So I do think that this spiritual foundation that I have, and I'm a Muslim today. I'm a follower of Muhammad the Prophet, the praise and peace be upon him, and the contemporary leadership of Imam W. Dean Muhammad, the son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I stayed with in 1975 and gravitated basically towards his father's leadership in the Nation of Islam when I was about 28 years old. And so there I started to become more health conscious. I started thinking about my health. And one of the things that Elijah Muhammad had in his program was how to eat to live. And basically what he had in that program was restrictions about certain foods that you can consume, what time of day you could eat, how many meals you could eat a day, and what those meals were comprised of. So he had a philosophy, or I say it was a basic theory in terms of the consumption of certain foods, which were no white rice, no white bread, no white milk, no white sugar, nothing that had been milled. And most of everything that's coming out of the earth um, has color to it: green, brown, yellow, red. So that's the most part of it. Quite naturally, you see some things that are white, um, like you'll see a onion or something like that, and some of your mushrooms and things that have come out. But for the most part, basically, those things that I just shared with you, such as sugar and flour and milk and those type of things that are white, bread, he said those were no-nos, those were taboos. So he took those things out of the diet of his followers, and many of them started getting much better. They started, their life started to improve because they didn't really realize that the foods that they were consuming prior to them coming in contact with his mission, his community, were really harmful to them. I certainly didn't. I just realized that somewhere along the line, I was missing something in terms of nutrients that didn't give me the vitality. And it seemed like, what didn't seem like it looked like I was aging faster than I had to. And I was. It was a fact. And then I had some other habits too that I could have left alone as a young person. But the main thing that I was concerned with was, what he made us concerned with was, what were we eating? What were we eating that we were told was fit for consumption? We were eating these things on a regular basis. They were part of the tradition, in our families. They were part of the traditions in our community. Everybody, the next door neighbor was eating them. The people around the corner was eating them. And certainly our mothers and our fathers and our brothers and our sisters and our aunts and our uncles and others were eating these foods. And so that was just par for the course, to eat that way. So it wasn't until I got into the 80s, the 1980s, and my vitality and energy started to drop because I went back to eating foods again that I had stopped eating once I met the community of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. God's mercy be on him. I cut certain foods out. I stopped certain food, and I felt this vitality. I felt this energy. I watched my eyes clear up. I watched my skin clear up. I was never really overweight. But the main thing that I recognized first and foremost is that I had more vitality and I had more energy and I felt so much better. And the people who were a part of that community, they had energy and they had vitality. And so all these things was registering to me during the 70s, because I met his program in 1972. So from 72 to 75, I'm following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. 1975, his son comes into office, Wallace Muhammad. God's mercy be on him. And we pray he gets a high station in paradise. And things changed. A new order was being ushered in to the community. And we went away from basic concepts of religion, of the religion of Al-Islam, to Al-Islam proper. Wallace opened up the Quran and started to show us the life of Muhammad the Prophet, the prayers and the peace be upon him. And life started changing. Well, some of us, because the emphasis was so heavy on really the spiritual part of our lives, which was so necessary in order for us to be where we are today, the advancement that we have today. And I really credit what Wallace did in terms of opening up the Quran, because it now has put us in a position of leadership, not only here in this country, but also doesn't matter where you go around the world. You can pretty much sit, talk, hold your own when it starts talking about religion and world affairs. That's where we are today. But by the time I got to the 80s, I had realized that I had developed in one area, become very, very strong in one area, but I lost ground in another area, focused in a particular zone of the life, my spiritual growth, my intellectual growth, the growth of my soul, learning a different language. These were factors that were a part of his program, and they have been very, very rewarding, very enriching, and the life has gotten so rich as a result of it. So, 1986, Connie, my wife, she's looking for a skincare line. And the name of this skincare line was Metron. I remember the name of it. It was Metron. And so she called a company that was in Texas and asked them about the product. And they told her, well, there's somebody, you all are in Buffalo, New York. There's somebody in Buffalo, New York that's, they have the product, they're marketing the product. You can get the product from them. So we called them. I don't know whether she initiated the call, whether I initiated the call over to the west side of the city. We lived on the east side of Buffalo, New York. And the person that the referral that was being given to us, these people lived on the west side of Buffalo. I never knew anything. I didn't know who they were. They didn't know me. We had never met before or anything. So anyway, we make this call and we were invited to come over to their nutritional center. And I go to the person's nutritional center. His name was Bill Hurish. His wife's name was Mildred, or Millie. And Millie's still alive today. God's mercy be on Bill. Millie is still alive today. And so Connie and I, we went over to their nutritional center and we were asking about the skincare line. He said, yeah, I had the skincare line. Well, when I got inside, I looked in there, and this was in his home. He had opened up this in his home. He had literally taken his garage, really, and turned it into a store. It was very, very well stocked and very well organized. And he had his office in there. So he looked at us while we were there. We were talking about the skincare line, but I was looking around and seeing all other things that were in there. So he looked and he says, you guys look like you're healthy. Are you interested in learning something about health? I said, well, sure. So he said, well, I could help you. I could share something with you about health if you were really interested in it. So I told him that I was, and I had become health conscious from the time that I met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1972. And I knew something, again, as I reiterate to you all, I knew I had lost energy, I had lost some vitality. So he said, okay, he says, well, I'm willing to teach you all, but there's one thing you have to agree to. So I said, well, what is that? He said, you're going to have to go out and touch someone else. So I didn't think that was such a big challenge. I could tell somebody else about it, if I learned about it. And so I started working with him. In fact, he did an iridological analysis on me. He read eyes. He could read the iris of the eye and tell what was going on in the body of the person. He read my eyes. He read Connie's eyes. He read my eyes. He says, and he told me then, this is a true story. This is 1986, 80, somewhere in there. He said, you're borderline diabetic. He was looking at my eyes. He said, you're borderline diabetic. Well, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. And I had never really got it checked out. I had never been diagnosed, really, for diabetes or anything like that. And, I worked at that particular time, I was working for the state of New York in childcare. And, but I had just never been checked out for a diabetic condition. But he told me, he said, you're borderline diabetic. So anyway, he put me on a protocol of vitamins and minerals and herbal botanicals and so on and so forth. And Millie, his wife, was a colon therapist. She did colonics down in the basement of their home. And so I had a series of colonics done. I had about eight colonics done by her. And she just moved a lot of waste out of my body, just got rid of a lot of waste out of my body. And I really started feeling good once again. And so I was studying with Bill. And we traveled. I introduced him to people that I knew in the northeastern part of the United States and also in the Midwestern part of the United States. And he would go and we would go together doing workshops on health and nutrition. And he would read the eyes. After he did the workshop, he would read the eyes of the person. And I was reading the eyes behind him. And I had a little chart. He had given me this little chart. He said, okay, he said, now what you see, you got to fill out on this chart. And so he would read the eyes. And after he read the eyes, I would read behind him. And then I would fill out the chart. He told the people, he said, look, this is an understudy of mine. Well, many of those people knew me anyway. And I shared with them what I was actually doing. And so they didn't have any objections to what was actually going on and what was taking place. And so this went on for about 2 years. I was into the New England states and New York City and upstate New York, Syracuse and Rochester. And we went into all these places. I was into Detroit, into Chicago. We went into a lot of places, Erie, Pennsylvania, Cleveland. We went into a lot of places. He was doing workshops. We did workshops in Detroit. He, very, very fascinating man and educational, bright. I'm not sure if Bill was of German descent. That wasn't even an issue with me. He's Caucasian. He and his wife. And I think this is true, and I have to say this for some of you who were exposed to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Probably if Imam W.D. Muhammad, Allah's mercy, had he not shared with us and opened up the Quran and got rid of color consciousness and these kind of things, I don't know if I would have accepted what Bill was offering at that particular time to be a mentor of mine. Or I probably never would have got as close or allowed him to get as close to me as he did. But it was because of that transition that was taking place, or that took place in 1975, that opened me up to other people, removed a lot of ideas and concepts from my mind that weren't really rooted in reality about other people who didn't look like me, didn't believe like me, didn't think like me. Those type of things brought me into a more of a universal mindset. in terms of how I was looking at the world. So, long story short, this is how I started learning about health and nutrition. That's really how it happened. There was nothing in my early childhood that would suggest I would be doing what I do today or what I have done in these first 40 years of dealing with health and nutrition and the places that I've been and the people that I've talked to and the people that I've helped and or the people who have allowed me to help them. Um, it has been some journey, a wonderful journey. Well, how could this have happened? My mind was open. My mind was open to possibility. My mind was fertile for possibility. My mind was fertile for change. My mind was fertile for new things. My mind was open to choose, to make choices that were beneficial for me. And I had a good mentor. And over those years, after those years, after I met Bill and Millie, then I met so many others. I have them up here on the walls in front of me. This life has just been so rich and rewarding with people that I've met who've helped me on down down this road, and various companies that I've been associated with and trainings that I've been associated with. I was never hesitant about investing in me and spending on me, on my own values, on my own worth. And Connie and I, we've traveled, we've been a lot of places. We've been as far as Australia, and then, on the African continent, in the Middle East, in the Caribbean, in Canada, we've been a lot of places around the globe. We've met a lot of good people. And it's been this journey of health awareness, health consciousness. I've developed this health consciousness. Why? Because I was willing to listen to somebody who knew more than I did about what I had an interest in. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business person too. And so along the way, I have just met some remarkable people, and I have read some remarkable writings. I've read some remarkable books and authors and fine minds. And I'm sure many of you all have too. So you all have a story just as, and I think mine is exciting. Maybe you didn't think mine is exciting. You're listening to me today. Maybe you didn't think it was exciting. But you've got one too. You've got a story too, and I think it is just as exciting. And it could be put in book form very easily if that's what you chose to do. And believe me, somebody will read it and somebody will get something from it. The contributions that you've been able to make to your own family, the contributions that you've been able to make to family members, I'm talking about not just your immediate family, but your cousins and others and in family and neighbors and people that's in the workplace that you've worked with down through time. And it's not over for you. You're still looking. You're still searching. You still have motivation. And if you don't, it certainly can be conjured up again. It can be stirred up again. So I just wanted to pass you today, this morning, and share just a little bit about me and how I got started in this. Because I know some of you see me out here and you look and you say, well, who is this guy? Where did he come from? How did he get to this particular juncture where he's sharing this type of information with us? He has his own business. And now we're starting to hear about his brand. How did this happen? And I'm saying to and I'm saying to you, it all happened because there was a drive. Where did it come from? It was already inside of us. So, since it was inside of me, it's inside of you already. And I was just willing to let somebody, you know, blow the billows, blow some oxygen on the little heat that was already there, the little spark that was already there. Then it turned into a blaze. It turned into a fire. And I never turned around. I've had some rough times. And I'll share those as we go on down through time, because I can't tell you everything here today. But I'll share more and more and more and more of this with you as we move on. And really, I'm encouraging many of you, those of you who are health conscious, there's so many things that you could be doing and should be doing to take care of your health today. That's going to make a difference tomorrow. Not just make a difference for you, but make a difference for your families, your wife, your husband, your children, your other relatives, people in the workplace that you come in contact with. Just you deciding about what you want to do with your life, adding more value to your life, spending more on your own soul and your own mind, your own heart, just to learn more about your own health so that you can feel better and do better as a result of that. So I really appreciate you coming here, sitting here with us for, not quite 30 minutes, just about done, almost 30 minutes. But I do want to invite some of you, those of you who are health conscious, you're really health conscious and you want to do something about your health. I will, if you go to my website, drnuriddin.com, drnuriddin.com. Maybe I said something here today that could help you. If you go to drnuriddin.com and go to my calendar there and click on the calendar, then it's going to open up and it'll give you an appointment time. That's a free appointment there. It's a 30-minute appointment. It's free. Click on it and it'll send a message to me telling me that you are interested in an appointment. And we'll talk. Doesn't cost you anything. I have some discussion with you about your health, if that's, and we're talking holistic health, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual. We're talking about holistic health. This is just one organism here, it's all connected. Everything is connected. If you get one part of it working pretty good, then the other parts start to come in, but it is a process to it. So look, it's been good talking to you today. Again, I look forward to talking to you again the next time. In fact, I may come back and talk to you again later on today. It just depends on what's going on. A lot of things are happening. But again, it's a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully we've been of some type of benefit to you. Maybe you got something out of this today. I look forward to talking to you the next time. I'm Dr. Abdel Jaleel Nuriddin. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina. You all have a healthy and pleasant day. For those of you who are Muslim, assalamu alaikum. And for the others, it really means peace be unto you. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day.